Hello, going to continue with Cornucopia and a few other connections. For instance, the Cornucopia connected to so many Greco-Roman gods, and we'll look at that a little bit more. But we'll be joining Antwerp in Belgium. Some recent videos uploads have been showing going into connections, well, in Belgium, but also looking at how that connects to important architecture, monumental bits and pieces around London and Sydney as well. We begin with Antwerp Central Station. Thanks you to Ninth Heretic for these pictures, and I'll do some more in regards to Antwerp, but especially Central Station because it's a wonderful piece of symbolic connections that join so much. So that's the outside of the station. But if we go on the inside, and well, the whole building is resplendent, let's just say, in this symbolism. So we see Ionic columns, Corinthian columns as well, Doric columns, and the beehive, sheaf of wheat, so many other aspects as well. But well, Pax Romana. So Pax means peace, so the Roman peace, and especially throughout Belgium, so much Roman symbolism. But there on the Pax, what do we have? We have two cornucopias, slight variations on the fruits connected therein. And we have a caduceus connected with the anchor, very, very important symbol as well as this, which you will find in Winnipeg, so many other places. But what we have is fortune as well. We even have these lightning bolts coming from it, so we have a nice connection to Zeus there. The laurels, acanthus scrolling, so much just overloaded with it. The lamps, even these obelisks that are mounted on the top, but the cornucopia to begin with. Old picture of Fortuna, Fortuna's wheel. It's where the term Wheel of Fortune comes from, and she is connected with the cornucopia. So we have the cornucopia and Fortuna's wheel depicted here. Also, Hermes, god of weights and measures. Now, the caduceus is a wand, which translates to measuring rod, and variations of Hermes, he'll also be holding a weight. So Hermanubis, which is a Thoth was the god of weights and measures. Hermes was a god. Hermes and Thoth have the same gods of knowledge, science, let's just call it. So he holds a weight in one hand and the measuring rod in the other hand. So Fortuna, Hermes / Mercury, and also, well, the helmet, the traveller's cap as well. But elsewhere in the station, so we see this is, again, connected with a clock. But what do we have? We have a caduceus with a torch, very Promethean, and we have a caduceus with that, almost like the military helmet, but that's the traveller's cap. And there we see the cornucopias, and the trident and the caduceus. The trident of Neptune and the caduceus of Hermes. There we get a better view with that helmet-like cap, but that's again the traveller's cap. The Greek version, older ones, show more of a wide-brimmed hat, the traveller's hat. Hermes is a god of weights and measures, commerce, travel, writing, knowledge, just like Thoth. And so we go over to London, the embankment, the lanterns there on the Thames. And what do we have? We have cornucopia, and we have the caduceus and the trident as well. So we compare. So in Antwerp we have the cornucopia, the caduceus, multiple versions of it, and the trident of Hermes. So we have the same symbols joined again. So now this is the Arthur Phillip fountain in Sydney. And this is just one. There's so, like, again, well, there are four figures around the outside. Who do we have? Neptune or Poseidon holding the trident. Commerce, Lady Commerce. Hermes is got this sort of hermaphroditic thing going on, but Lady Commerce holding the caduceus. So you can see the trident there, and the caduceus. There we have same thing, or down there, god of commerce, Lady Commerce. But also on the plinths that they're all standing on, what do we have? Cornucopia. GPO in Sydney as well, and along the facade, between each of the columns, what do we have? The trident and Delphinus, and the caduceus of Hermes once again. So whether it's post offices, train stations, customs house, what do they all do? They're places of commerce and places of navigation and travelling. Hermes, god of travellers, of commerce, weights and measures. And because especially shipping was so important at the time, and sailors, well, the trident of the god of the sea, and his now Delphinus is the dolphin. Now it looks very fishy, but let's look. So this is the constellation Delphinus. Now the legend is that Neptune / Poseidon proposed to Amphitrite. She rejected his proposal, ran away, and the dolphin Delphinus found her and convinced her to come back, and he was placed in the stars in appreciation of it. So you'll see these things and they look very fishy, but it's actually Delphinus the dolphin. And that's one of it. So that's why we have there Delphinus connected to Neptune as well. South Bank in London, they even call it the dolphin lantern. So they look very fishy, but it's called the dolphin lantern. What do we have? The trident and the wand of Hermes, or / as Mercury the Romans called him. This is the Lyceum, the post office in Liverpool. The lady, she's holding the wand, and in her hand, once again, she's holding a weight. Weights and measures, god of weights and measures. Now now the trident. Now, interesting, anyway, the emerging boat, but we'll leave that for the moment. But the trident, same thing again. And Delphinus once more. Back to the Arthur Phillip fountain. So there we have commerce and Neptune or Poseidon, and what's there? Delphinus. And well, again, an emerging boat as well, which is an important repeated feature. I mentioned post offices and train stations and how these symbols, emblems are so important to them. This is the National Post Museum in Washington. What do we have? The caduceus and the cornucopia. So back to Antwerp again. So this is a classical depiction of Neptune and Amphitrite with the hippocampus of the water horses, Neptune, patron god of horse racing, and we see these Delphinus riding out in front. So that's why this Delphinus imagery is so important. Traveller's cap, you can see there, and we compare it to over here again, the rod and the weight. And if I go back to the commerce in, okay, what's she holding? A weight, once more. Weights and measures. This is the knowledge of ancient, even Egyptian connections. Literally, Shamash in the Sumerian, Babylonian, Nuar and Fuzi in China. Gods of weights and measures. They're even holding a compass and a square. Weights and measures, knowledge. Weights and measures is a fundamental of science. Now, also commerce being also, or Hermes / Mercury, the god of travellers, navigation, god of commerce. Well, what do merchants do? They need to navigate. So, nice connection to shipping as well. So that's one of the reasons for those connections. And well, okay, cornucopia. It's just repeats all the time, and it's embedded now. There, wonderful thing. Well, we have there tip of the hat to a canvas. So this is just again same. Again, notice the boat, portion of the boat. We see the wand of measure and the weight in the hand. Trident, Delphinus, cornucopia. So you see the cornucopia there, and Delphinus, the trident, the wand, the caduceus, and the other gods are Hephaestus and Demeter. Just the same thing with the previous video. So you can even, Washington as well. So London, Washington, Sydney, Antwerp. It's everywhere, and there is a cool connections, especially to the esoteric. So Rosicrucians, Oddfellows, Druids and all these other groups, and well, back to the Masonic, and by that I mean stonemason traditions going back, well, to the Greco-Roman times, and they inherited it from earlier cultures as well. So just well, again, it's there, it's always there, especially connections to time, because what is time? Time is is a system of measurement, and navigation directly connects to it as well. So these mapping systems are ancient mapping systems. For instance, Portolan mapping, 32 rays around the 33rd central point. It's all there. And so, yeah, so Hermes, the Fortuna's wheel, the Cornucopia, Delphinus, the hippocampus. They're just there. They're there all the time, and it's been passed on. And those in the know, they drop it for you again. For instance, we see just a comparison of Delphinus and Delphinus there, especially if it's a war memorial or a significant memorial. If it's these major public buildings, major public fountains, major monuments, it's in there. Now, even the modern ones, for instance, the I.M. Pei, Norman Foster, these famous architects and sculptors, Tony Rosenthal, who have modernist type of architecture. Now, they won't have these symbols visually embedded, but you will find in the weights and measures, they always come back to the same sets of numbers. And so it's arcane symbols, arcane weights and measures, and these numbers, for instance, that will connect, whether it's ancient India, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt. It's just repeated consistently all the time. Forms might change, the legends and stories might change ever so slightly. This is another sculpture in Antwerp. Notice again the boat emerging. We even have a Kundalini, the caduceus there. Nice pan as well. That's an important one, the fawn. But what do we have? The trident of Neptune and Hermes holding the two snakes around the rod, the caduceus. It's very, once you start spotting them, you'll just realize that it's so often so strongly embedded around. So yeah, America, Australia, England, then the ancient cultures as well, still carried on, and lots of nice connections here. It's more than just the visual. Cornucopia, caduceus, the trident, Fortuna's wheel, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian. It just repeats over and over and over again. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.